Hey, beautiful people. I hope you guys are having a motivating, money making Monday because that's just what it is, right? We ain't gonna wake up talking about, oh my God, it's Monday. I gotta get up and go up in here. No, we're not doing that. We are calling in them blessings. We're waking up excited and we getting ready to do the dang thing, right? So I wanted to come in here today and talk to you guys about something very, very important, and it's hardening of the heart. For you guys that don't know, or some people say cold, your heart grows cold. Hardening of the heart, your heart grows cold. They're within the same terms, right? Well, hardening of the heart, it usually occurs when you have become mentally, physically, or spiritually closed off. I'm going to say that again. It's when you become mentally, spiritually, or emotionally closed off due to disappointment, due to extensive overwhelmness, due to just being hurt, right? So what do we do when we hurt? We protect ourselves. What do we do when one of our children have a boo-boo? We hear up and rush over there and we gather them up. We put Neosporin on it. We put a Band-Aid on it. That's their protection, right? So anytime we are, hurt, or we're going through situations where we feel like we have to disassociate with others, this is what's usually occurring. For me, I dealt with this a long time, you guys, because at a very, very early age, I didn't have the nurturance of a mother. I lost my mother to the streets, and I didn't have my father. I lost my father when I was 10 years old. So the discipline, um, a lot of how a woman should be treated, how a man should be treated, all of those things kind of went out the window. And I stayed in the house with my grandparents, and they were a lot older, so they weren't spending that extra time doing that. My grandmother, she kept me in the word. She taught me how to clean, and she taught me how to be a nurturer. So that's what I know. But I didn't learn self love. I didn't learn individuality. I didn't learn boundaries, and I definitely didn't know or learn how to say no. I didn't. So these were all things that God had to sit down and show me. And I remember going through my depression after my cousin lost her life to domestic violence, her and her son. And those were some really, really dark days for me, to the point where I wouldn't get up and clean. I wouldn't get up and cook. I didn't even have the energy for my own children. And if you all know me, then you know that that's not like me at all. But I had been through so much trauma, and I had suppressed it for so long. I didn't tell people about my essay. And when I finally did tell people about my essay, it was years and years later. And it was people that weren't around. So, what do you do with something that serious, from a child who's traumatized, who has so many issues? Like, what do you do with that? So my guardian, she did the best she could. She got me the help she could. She got me counseling, anger management. It was a many a nights of her talking to me. She introduced me to writing and journaling and how to express my feelings on paper if I couldn't get them out in, just in that form of talking. And that was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. I began to feel safe. I began to feel secure. And I began to feel like I had a voice. For a long time, growing up in my grandmother's house, woman from Mississippi, her and her husband, Southern people, and, they all came over here to, have a successful life and raise families. Um, they lived the farm life. I got stories from my aunt now to this day where she has stories of her still in the field picking cotton. And I believe that my family made a shift too, and they had to learn a lot of things. They were deeply rooted, family oriented, did a lot of the holidays together, spent so much time together just because we were family. But I'm really learning that family can be more than blood. Family is your tribe. the people that are like-minded with you, the people that like the same things as you, the people that God sends to you to love on you the way that you love on them. So when I finally started to figure that out, I started to become more vocal about my situations, particularly the SA. But within that, I had no boundaries. So I got in terrible relationships on the way. I had ruined friendships on the way. There were so many things that just would not stand because they didn't have the right foundation, right? Because I didn't learn those things, because I didn't have them instilled in me to know God has so much grace with me. And so moving forward, I remember one night, and this is when I was kind of coming out of my depression. This was 2023, mid 2023. And I just woke up at 3 o'clock and something told me to walk around your house and start praying. I really felt um, like a negative energy. Mind you, I had been going to sleep every night with anxiety, waking up with spiritual attacks, couldn't breathe, was having some really, really awkward dreams, and was having visuals from my grandmother and just other things going on that were just, you probably wouldn't even believe me if I told you about them. But sat there, went through these experiences, and really started to have some full circle moments. I already was a really forgiving person because I love hard. Thank God for that. Thank God for that heart that He gave me to be able to love and to love so freely. You know what I mean? And to forgive so freely, but not without the boundaries. So He had to teach me. And I just didn't want to do anything, you guys. And it was just really, really hard for me to come out. But in those dark days, I became aware. I started to research about me. I started to call family members and ask, hey, what was this? Who was this? Where did we come from? I started to ask about stories. I started to write down everything. And I had already forgiven, a lot of things with my sexual abuse and with my domestic violence, with my ex partners and everything. But I really, really wanted to dive in the depths and make sure that I wasn't leaving anything behind forgotten that I forgot to pay attention to. I was living a fast life. When you live the fast life, you cannot pay attention to the divinity in things. You got to slow down to be able to pay attention to divinity because it's in the details. So I was always just running around and doing the most. But during this moment, God awakened me. He opened my heart. I literally felt the chains come off of my heart one night, that same night that I got up and I started praying around my house. And I started praying over my kids because I felt a certain entity and energy come in my house, you guys. And it was familiar, but it was evil. It was sad. It was almost like it was depressed too. And I got up and I started praying, and I went to every single one of my children's rooms and I started praying over them. And I just really started calling in God in my house. And I went to every corner of my house and I just started praying around every corner of my house. And the next day when I woke up, I felt different. But it wasn't that made me feel different or realize that I was really going through a shift. And I had really been in that for so long, that I had been asleep and dead for so long. My daughter said something to me. And this was after walking around the house and we had calmed down. I had sat down because at this point I didn't woke up the whole house. My dog Ariel then came in here and she sat down and she sat right in front of me, and with her right paw, she did just like this on my chest. It was almost like she was trying to give me a sign, like, baby, come up out of there. Come up out of there. And then my eldest daughter said, Mama, you're back. I immediately felt the chills come down my back. I was in that darkness for so long, you guys, that even my children, I was becoming unrecognizable to my children. I thank God He got me up and said, get up, get up. I thank God He gave me the husband He gave me. to where I could completely fall apart and learn who I was without all of that. It took a supportive and loving community. My mother would check on me daily to the point where God even ushered in my biological mother. We were able to have that serious talk. We were able to talk about all of those things. And the forgiveness just rolled in even more, you guys. I began to have more empathy for my mother because I heard her story and it wasn't too different, but we just did different things. And that right there, that was a game changer for me. I answered my call, you guys. I answered it. And my encouragement to you all, become aware. Become aware of who you are. Learn your identity. And we know that tradition is important. We know that love's important. We know that family is important. But you're the most important. And the family that you create is going to be the most important for your legacy and for your future and for your children's future. So I had to walk up out of that. Well, this is what my auntie taught me. Well, this is what my grandmother taught me. Well, this is what my mama taught me. Well, who are you? And it took for that isolation time for me to build that intimacy with God, for me to fall on my knees with God and say, hey, what's going on? Because I've already been through these things. And why am I back here? And he said, yeah, you've been through it, but you ain't been through it because I suppressed it, you guys. Don't suppress your emotions. Don't suppress your feelings. Let them know how you feel. I didn't speak up for a long time. So people didn't take me serious. So when I finally started to build boundaries, it was like a laugh, really? Miss Go with the flow, do what everybody say is finally building boundaries? Yes, I am. And it took me a whole year, you guys, just for people to get the gist. I would get up, I would stay dedicated to my routine. Wake up. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for waking me up. Thank you for doing this. I would say my affirmations. I would look in the mirror. Baby, you're beautiful. You're blessed. You got this. Keep going. And I did. And every day I showed up and got up and took that action, God instilled more motivation in my heart. The more I got up and took that action, the more motivation followed. I started to get up more. Baby, I was coaching people and helping people, and I would go in my room and I would cry and ask God, why couldn't I do that for me? And he said, don't worry, I got you. I'm going to show you. I start looking in that mirror, doing mirror work and affirming who I am. Now, you not that. You not no hoe. You ain't what those people told you. You ain't going to be like your mama like they said. You are transformed. I started telling myself who I was because I already had the inner knowing. But I was so caught up that I did not take the time to become aware, to name those demons and to cast them out of my house. And that's what I began to do. Every spirit that tried to take control of me ever since I was a little girl, spirit of lust, the Jezebel spirit, spirit of greed, all of those things that tried to consume me, I called them out. When I felt that energy come in my house, I called it out and I said, God, no more. And I got up every day and I did the work. So what is the medicine to hardening of the heart? The medicine is to get up. The medicine is to build intimacy and trust with yourself and trust and intimacy with God. If you don't know who you are, how can you know where you come from? I had to do some deep diving, baby. And I wouldn't change a thing. I love it. Now those things to me, they're rituals in my days. I wake up, I know who I am. I'm giving gratitude. I'm giving love. And I'm not showing up and acting out. And when I am, God is showing me immediately instead of me waiting years and years and years to heal over that. For a long time, I would be very defensive about things because I hurt. I would be very defensive. You can't say to me, not talk to me. Instead of understanding and listening to what was going on. Now I take that defense and I use it for other things. I built a fence, not a wall, because now I could see I'm using that discernment. And I talk about that in my empowerment. And I talk about that a lot with the women that I help mentor and coach. It is important that we become aware. If we don't know who we are, we don't know where we're going. And that's real talk. I had to dive deep. Who my people? What was they doing? Oh, habits. This is how generational curses are. It's going to end with me. But you have got to do the work. You can't sit down like the enemy wants you to, because we have all these worldly things to keep us distracted. Jobs, just fast life in general. It keeps us distracted. It keeps us from our higher vision, our bigger purpose, our higher selves. I am so glad that I took the time to sit down. And nobody understands God's ways, but he has his ways. And have not those circumstances happened, and I hate that they happen, if certain situations wouldn't have happened in my life, I would have just kept going until I hit that brick wall and there's no turning back. Thank God for his love. Thank God for his grace. Thank God for his mercy. Thank God he kept me when I didn't want to be kept. I thank him. I thank him. And I pray this prayer for everybody. Find yourself first. Do your research. Where your people come from. What have y'all done? Let's check the success rate. How many curses have we broken? Or how many curses have we let continue to slide? I'm not one of them. Never have been. And I thank God for showing me I have always belonged to him. Because when I went through that depression, confusion overpowered me. I couldn't hear God's voice and I almost went crazy. I had to sit in them dark days and I had to pull myself back up. But it was not me. It was God. It was God. It was me going back and looking at what my ancestors did. How can I shift this? I forgive them because they know not, but they paved the way for me. And I'm here now. So what I'm going to do with it? Let's get serious about our purpose. Let's get serious about our hearts. He cannot come into our hearts if they are hard. You have to be open. You have to be open. Get on out there and dance, cry, talk, pray. Pray. Because when I can't do nothing else, all I say is, help me. I'm at a loss. I no longer try to control what I can't control. And that's what I used to do. I used to try to control everything. Because let me tell you something. Hurt people, when they get hurt, baby, you don't wish that on nobody and you don't want it to happen to you again. So it's necessary that we build that protection. But we do it right. We do it right. That's all I got.